One of the hardest things people ever try to do is change a habit that has been a part of them for years. Not because they don't want change, but because habits become attached to comfort, to routine, to identity. You can know something is hurting you and still return to it simply because it feels familiar. That's what makes bad habits dangerous. They rarely destroy your life all at once. They slowly shape the way you think, feel, and live until they become normal. And eventually, you stop questioning them. Repetition makes anything feel natural. The truth is, most bad habits start as solutions. People distract themselves because they don't want to think too much. They avoid responsibility because failure feels scary. They stay up late because nightmare feels like an escape from reality. They overconsume entertainment because silence forces them to confront themselves. At first, these habits feel harmless, sometimes even comforting, but over time, comfort can quietly become a prison. And that's the frustrating part about trying to grow up. You are not only fighting the habit itself, you are fighting the version of yourself that became comfortable with it. That's why replacing old habits matters more than simply trying to quit them, because empty space rarely stays empty for long. If you remove a bad habit without replacing it, your mind naturally searches for something familiar to fill the gap. That's why people often fall back into old routines even when they genuinely want to change. Real transformation happens when you build something better in a place of what's hurting you. Not just removing distractions, but creating focus. Not just quitting negativity, but learning healthier thinking. Not just avoiding laziness, but building discipline. And none of this happens instantly. People love the idea of becoming a new person, but they underestimate how uncomfortable the process can feel. When you start changing your habits, your mind will try to pull you back toward what feels easy and familiar. That's normal. Your brain likes patterns, even unhealthy ones. The person trying to wake up early will suddenly feel more tired than ever. The person trying to stop procrastinating will suddenly crave distraction. The person trying to become disciplined will miss the comfort of avoiding responsibility. Growth often feels unnatural at first because you are teaching yourself a completely different way to live. But eventually, new habits become familiar too. That's the beautiful part. The same repetition that once trapped you can also rebuild you. A person once who wasted hours every day can become someone who's focused and intentional. A person who constantly doubts themselves can become confident. A person who avoided life can slowly become present within it. Not through one huge moment, but through repeated choices. And sometimes the smallest changes creates the biggest impact. Replacing 30 minutes of scrolling with reading, replacing negative self-talk with self-awareness, replacing constant avoidance with small acts of discipline, replacing environments that drain you with the ones that inspire you. These things may seem small, but your daily habits are quietly teaching your mind what to expect from life. If you constantly feed your mind with distractions, chaos, and negativity, eventually your thoughts begin reflecting it. But if you begin feeding your mind clarity, purpose, and growth, your entire perspective starts changing. That's why habits are deeper than routines. They shape your identity. Every action repeated daily becomes evidence for the type of person you believe who you are. When you continue breaking promises to yourself, you slowly stop trusting yourself. But when you start following through, even in small ways, you rebuild that trust piece by piece. And that process matters because changing your habits is not only becoming more productive or successful, sometimes it's about finally becoming someone who feels in control of their own life, someone who no longer feels controlled by distractions, someone who stops running from discomfort, someone who understands that peace is built through the things you practice every day. The reality is, Your future is hidden inside your routines, not your intentions, not your goals, your habits. The things you repeat daily will either build the life you want or slowly pull you away from it. And maybe that's why changing your habits is one of the most forms of self respect. Because every time you replace an old destructive pattern with something healthier, you are telling yourself something more powerful. I believe my future deserves better than my past. And over time, those choices begin changing more than your routine. They change you.